Welcome back to another episode of Road Life with Chris. Today, as you can tell, is going to be a different kind of video. I'm in my truck. I'm waiting on a load to get ready, a load of pipe, and so I may make a separate video on that one. But right now, I made a video earlier this week on Monday, but when going back and reviewing the footage, I noticed I lost all my audio. There's no audio on it except for one little bitty clip. The rest of it was zero audio, so I don't know what happened there. So I'm trying to determine if I want to scrap the whole deal or go back and narrate over the top of it. I'm not sure yet, so it's going to be pushed off to the side until I figure out what to do. But today, I'm going to make this video about working load limits and aggregate working load limits. So we're going to go over all that because there's a lot of misunderstandings about how some of that stuff is determined. So we're going to go over that. I'm going to share my screen with you, and I'll show you section 393.108 of the FMCSA regulations, the green book that most people should have but usually don't. We call it the trucker Bible because the only time it ever gets out, they pull it out whenever they need it because they're trying to explain something or prove that they're right when they're usually wrong, and they get it and they blow all the dust off of it, you know, like a lot of people keep on the Bible. But anyway, that's beside the point. So that's what we're going to go over today. Sorry about this long intro. I'll try to make it quicker next time. So now I'm going to try to share my screen. Excuse me. I'm going to try to share my screen with you, and we'll go over 393 section 108. All right, so be back with you in just a second. All right, welcome back everyone. So now what we're going to do is I am going to go over this what the hell am I doing here? I don't know what the hell I just did. I'm trying to record my, okay, here we go. All right, welcome back everyone. So what we're going to do today is, or you know, we've already discussed over working load limits. So as you can see on your screen, I brought up the most up-to-date section of the FMCSA 49 CFR 393.108. So this is going over working load limits and aggregate working load limits. As you can see here on 393.108, how is the working load limit of a tie down or the load restraint value of a friction mat determined? We're not really going to go over friction mats because I always give that a 0 rating because that's not part of my securement system. So, but it can be determined, but we're not going to go over that. Plus it's confusing as all get out. So, but what we're going to do is go over this 398. So the working load limit, WLL, of a tie-down, associated connector, or attachment mechanism is the lowest working load limit of any of its components, including tensioner, or the working load limit of the anchor points to which it is attached, whichever is less. So basically, when you have an anchor or a attachment system or a securement system, we'll use a 4-inch strap, for instance. So you have your 4-inch strap, which most of them are rated at 5,400 pounds. Not always the case. There are some that are higher, there are some that are lower. So you need to check and make sure, but the average majority of them are 5,400. So you have 5,400. So then you need to determine what your anchor point is on your trailer that you're anchoring to. So I'm hauling a Fontaine right now, so my anchor point, which is a hook pocket underneath, is rated at 5,400, which I can show you that later. Also, the winch on these trailers here are rated at 5,000. Well, 5,000 is lower than 5,400, so my anchor point is 5,400, my strap is 5,400, but my winch is only 5,000. So therefore, my working load limit of that system, the anchor point, the strap, and the winch, is only going to be 5,000 because of the fact, excuse me, that the winch is the lowest working load limit on that system. So we go into the next part, which is section B right here. It states that the working load limits of tie downs may be determined by using either the tie down manufacturer's markings, tag on the strap, or the stenciling along the strap, or as the case on the trailer, it has a sticker or a placard telling you what the working load limit of the hook pockets and stuff like that are. Or on the winch, it's stamped in, you know, because it's metal and it's got metal stamp in there what the working load limit is. So you can use those, or you can actually use the table that's included in this particular section of the FMCSA. So if it's not marked by the manufacturer, sorry, that was an update on when my load might be ready. So they're telling me that they'll have an update in 30 minutes. So the working load limit is listed on the tables below when the tie down material is not marked by the manufacturer with the working load limit. So for instance, if you have a chain, it's all rusted and corroded because it's been used for a while, and you know, it's gotten wet and all this other stuff, so it's kind of rusted. So they can't see if it's a grade 70 5/16 transport chain. All they can tell is that it is a 5/16 chain. So a grade 70 transport chain 5/16 is rated at 4,700. But if you cannot prove it because you can't see the stamping on it, therefore it goes back to the lowest rating, which is a grade 30 coil chain, which is only rated at 1,900 pounds. So that's what the DOT will give it. So as you can see, let me scroll down and I'll show you that chart, why I say that. So here you see, we're going to find the grade 70 or the 5/16. So here is the 5/16 chain right here. Okay, I was talking about the grade 70 transport chain rated at 4,700 pounds. All right, so if they cannot see that stamp that says G70 or 70G, which means grade 70, then they will go back to the lowest rating, which is the grade 30 proof chain. Okay, so it drops from 4,700 down to 1,900 pounds. So you have to keep that in mind. That's why it's so important to make sure that you take care of those chains. You clean them up. You know, if you got to oil them or whatever every now and then to keep them from corroding, and we need to do that. So that way they can see that. Now, when we talk about the grading of the chain or the working load limit of the chain, we're not talking about the hook or the clevis. Reason being is because those can be taken off. Okay, it's got a cotter pin. You can pull that out, pull the pin out, replace that, and put a grade 70 hook on a grade 30 chain. So they do not consider the hook. It has to be on the chain itself. Each individual link, you know, about every 4, 5, 6th link will have a stamp on there that says G70 or something of that nature, letting them know that that's a grade 70 chain. So that's what they will go with, not the clevis itself. So you need to make sure that you're checking that, you know, when you're checking, make sure that your chains and everything are serviceable. You know, so this will break down all of your each chain. Like I said, it comes down here, it shows you your synthetic webbing. So your 1 3/4, 2 inch, 3 inch, 4 inch strap, synthetic webbing, wire rope. It goes even down here and covers your manila rope, you know, which I don't know why anybody uses that to tie stuff down. Polypropylene fiber rope, you know, double braided nylon rope, steel strapping. You know, you see a lot of like pipe loads, or it's like if you're hauling truck beds. Okay, you'll see a lot of times that they will use a black wire band or a metal band to anchor those to the trailer. Now, is that a legal form of securement? According to the FMCSA, yes, it is. And yes, it can be rated. However, I don't personally trust it, so therefore I'm not going to consider that secured. And I'm going to go ahead and secure it myself with, you know, 4 inch straps or whatever I got to do to make sure that it is secured. But yes, it is considered a legal form of securement. I just don't trust it. So, but let's go back up here to the top at where we was at. So we talked about, you know, section B, how they're determining the working load limit of each individual component. Synthetic cordage, nylon, polypropylene, polyester, which is not marked or labeled, excuse me, to enable identification of its composition or working load limit, shall be considered to have a working load limit equal to that of polypropylene fiber rope. So again, you can use that chart I just showed you to determine the working load limit of the rope or the polypropylene or nylon rope. So it's all there. Welded steel chain which is not marked or labeled to enable identification of its grade or working load limit shall be considered to have a working load limit equal to that for grade 30 proof coil chain, which is what we just went over. When I was telling you, if they cannot see that it is stamped with that grade 70, they will reduce the working load limit. It's the same thing with your straps. If they cannot see where it's stenciled, it says 5,400 pounds, they will reduce it down to the lowest grade. You know, if the tag comes off, again, they will reduce it down to the lowest grade. You know, can it still be used if it's still serviceable? Yes, but just keep in mind, if they cannot prove that it is 5,400 pounds, what the working load limit, it will get the lowest rating possible. You got to keep that in mind. Wire rope, which is not marked by the manufacturer with a working load limit, shall be considered to have working load limit equal to 1/4 of the nominal strength listed in the wire rope user's manual. You know, most times we don't use wire rope. I never use wire rope, so I really don't consider that. Most time on your normal loads we don't. Now you have, you know, your log trucks and stuff like that. Now they'll use the wire rope, so it's more pertaining to them. I can't really talk about that because I don't haul logs, so I will save that for somebody else. That is not my area of knowledge very well, so I don't even worry about that one. Wire which is not marked or labeled to identify its construction type shall be considered to have a working load limit equal to that of a 6 by 37 fiber core rope. Again, that's something we don't use. I don't use wire, so you know, like I said, log haulers and other people may use the wire rope. I don't have enough knowledge to really cover that, so I'm not going to go over that. I don't use manila rope, so I'm not going to cover that one. You know, I don't know why we would use manila rope, because it's too fragile and would break too easy. Now friction mats I use all the time, but I don't give them a load limit rating, a WLL, because of the fact that it's really just to protect you know, my straps or my chains or whatever I'm using it for. I'm not using it as part of my securement system. But however, friction mats which are not marked or rated by the manufacturer shall be considered to provide resistance to horizontal movement equal to 50% of the weight placed on the mat. So what that is saying is, for instance, you have a friction pad, you set it down. So like when I'm setting up to pick up a coil, I put down the friction pads, then I put down my coil racks, then I put down my dunnage, bevel dunnage, and then I put down some more friction pads. So what that is saying, for horizontal movement, either forward or back or side to side, it is equal to 50% of the weight that's placed on that pad. So if you have a 40,000 pound coil, when you set it down on top of those friction pads, you just hit 20,000 pounds worth of securement. Even though you don't have a chain on it, that's 20,000 pounds. Dang sure wouldn't run that way, but you know, it's there, and that's what they're saying. So, but again, I do not consider that as part of my working load limit. Therefore, I just give it a 0 rating. It's just there to keep things from moving and to help protect the coil and help protect my dunnage and my coil racks. So that's why this right here does not cover the aggregate working load limit in this section of the 393-108, but the aggregate working load limit is the combination of all your securement systems combined and added together. So say you have, you know, you're using straps, so you have 10 straps thrown across your load. All right, excuse me. We've already determined that the working load limit of each system is the weakest point of that particular strap or that system. So the anchor point was 5,400 on this Fontaine. Keep in mind, this is a Fontaine, so it has a 5,400. The strap is rated at 5,400, but my winch is only rated at 5,000. So that one particular system is only 5,000. So now I've got 10 of them, and they're all the same. So now I have 10 times 5,000, which is 50,000 pounds. I am pretty close to my 100% because I can't haul anything over about 48,500, 49,000, depending on how much fuel I have because of the trailer and stuff like that. That would put me in my 80,000 pound mark. So most loads are not going to be 50,000 pounds. So I throw 10 straps, I'm pretty close to that 100%. Although if I have a 50,000 pound load, I only need to secure 25% according to the DOT. But anyway, that is your working load limit in a nutshell. Like I said, you add all of your load securement systems together to make one aggregate working load limit to determine if you have hit that 50% of your load securement according to the DOT. Hopefully this has helped out a little bit. Hopefully it kind of gives you a little bit of understanding of how the working load limits are, and how to figure out and determine your aggregates. Like I said, you can do it with chain, you can do it with straps, and if you have a combination of chain and strap, on some loads we will run chains and straps. So to do that, again, it's the same thing. Your chain, if you have a 5/16 grade 70, it is at 4,700 pounds. Your binder, your snap binder or your ratchet binder, on the handle, it will tell you if it's what the rating is. Most snap binders for a 5/16 grade 70 chain or 5/16 chain is usually rated at 5,400 pounds. Chain's 47. Your anchor points are 54. Well, what's the lowest value? It's going to be 4,700 because your chain is the weakest link. So make sure that you're paying attention to that. And so now you've gotten 10 chains thrown, and at 4,700 pounds, well, 10 times 4,700 is 47,000. So hopefully that helps and gives you some understanding of how that's going to work. And if you have any questions, like I said, please leave me a comment. I would be more than happy to answer. And we'll work through this together and learn as much as we can together. So don't forget, like, subscribe, comment, share the video. Help me grow this channel so we can reach more people and make our roads safer. But I want to thank you for joining me today. Hopefully you learned something. Hopefully I didn't confuse you even more. And we can get through this and we all be safer out here on the roads. So thanks for joining me today, and I'll see you on the next one.